count 1 again, 2, 3, up to 10. So that's the most simple way, because you can't see your breath so clearly. Because our breath is a very subtle object. Subtle object is hard to notice. Because it's hard to notice. As long as you keep your... What we want to do is tie our attention to one object, not allow it to run. If you are able to do that for long, even though you can't tie it very strongly, you just keep it there slowly over a period of time. It gets stronger and stronger, your concentration. So when it gets stronger and stronger, these 5 jhana factors you have, vitaka, vichara, ekagata, piti and sukha. When you have these 5 factors and you feel the bliss and the delight, you start to experience jhana, the first jhana. But since our mind is not strong, normally when a person attains even that state, you fall out of that jhana very soon. So you have to keep practicing to prolong that jhana. If you can keep practicing, if your first jhana becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, then only you are ready to consider going into the second jhana. So I don't need to talk too much about that. So why is meditation so important? I just would like to mention one other thing, is that piti and sukha, just now I mentioned, even though it's very blissful and very delightful, it is not strong perceptions. It is a subtle perception. What is strong is the concentration, the ekagata, and the mind is strong, it becomes very obvious. But the piti and sukha is a very subtle feeling. It is very obvious, very distinct, but it is subtle. It is subtle, so it does not overwhelm your mind. You cannot be too attached to it because your concentration, your mind is strong. That's one thing. The other thing, why is this meditation so important? Because the spiritual path that we are practicing is to end suffering. And the end of suffering or enlightenment is defined as asavakaya, destruction of the asavas. Destruction of the asavas is destruction of the tendency of the mind to flow, the tendency of consciousness to flow. Most of us, we like to think the world is outside there and I am inside this body. That's a wrong perception. Our 6 senses give us a wrong perception of the world. We see and we think the world is outside of our eyes. We hear and we think the sounds are outside of us, etc. But actually, if you analyze properly, it is not so. For example, when you see something, what happens is that the light particles, the photons, hit your retina, your eye, and it causes the seeing consciousness to arise. The seeing consciousness arises, and when we pay attention, the Buddha says there is contact. When there is contact, then we see. So, what is it that we see? What we see is in our consciousness. Yeah? What we see is in our consciousness. Consciousness comes along with the object, and the object is the world. Nama Rupa is the world. So where is consciousness? Consciousness is not outside, Consciousness is inside. So the world that we see is inside us. It is created by our mind. So the whole world of seeing, hearing, smell, taste, touch, everything is inside our mind. That's why in Buddhism, mind is so important. That's why in the Dhammapada verse, the first verse, the Buddha said, mind is the forerunner of all states. Mind is chief. Mind made Ade. You want acts with a pure mind, happiness follows one, like the wheel follows the foot of the ox. If one acts with an impure mind, suffering follows us like a shadow that never leaves. So our mind is very, very important. Our mind creates the world. So if you have an impure mind, you will have an unhappy mind. That's why people who suffer from depression, as happened nowadays, they don't understand the Dhamma, so they don't create enough blessings, so they hate themselves. That's how you get depression. If a person practices according to the Dhamma, what the Buddha teaches, you know how to act as a human being, then you have a lot of happiness inside of you. And that happiness also will bring you to heavenly rebirth. So coming back to this asava, as long as consciousness flows, the world continues, and samsara, the round of rebirths, continues. So the aim of the holy life, the aim of the spiritual path, is to slowly reduce the tendency of the mind to flow. So when we meditate, when we practice the Buddha's meditation, samatha, we are focusing our attention on one object. And you pay attention on one object, and you are able to continue to pay attention on one object, the mind stops flowing. The mind stops flowing. So if you are able to attain samadhi, concentration of mind, for example, for 1 hour, your mind stops flowing for 1 hour. So if you can stop your mind for 2 hours, even better. And then if you can prolong that stopping of the flow of consciousness longer, then you have more and more control of your mind. Then there is hope that one day you can destroy the tendency of the mind to flow. So if a person meditates by other ways, does not have samadhi, does not have control over the mind, is not able to stop the flow of the asavas. Some people, they think they are meditating. Actually, we have brought a book called Contemplation and Meditation. I'm trying to say the difference between contemplation and meditation. A lot of people sit down and they practice vipassana. They are thinking all the time. The flow never stops. That is not meditation. Meditation is to be able to cut your asava at least for some time, so that there is hope that one day you can cut it permanently. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people don't understand the difference between contemplation and meditation. And also, if you can attain a state of samadhi, of concentration, for example, you attain the first jhana. When you attain the first jhana, what happens is that your consciousness transcends the sensual desire realm. We are in the sensual desire realm, where we have male and female. We are obsessed by sensual pleasures. But when you attain the first jhana, you have transcended the sensual desire realms, even transcended the sensual desire heavens, and you have gone into Brahma heaven. The first jhana is the heaven of Mahabrahma. It's a different world altogether, different realm altogether. So the Buddha said, if you can attain the first jhana, you have gone beyond the sight of Mara. Mara cannot see you. Mara cannot reach you. You cannot be disturbed by Mara, Satan. So you see how powerful the first jhana is. That's why the Buddha said, if a monk can attain the first jhana even for one moment, as short as a finger snap, the Buddha said that is really a monk. And he deserves the food that is offered to him. And he listens to the teacher's word, that means the Buddha's words, the Buddha's instructions. So this is a purpose of meditation, to get a hold of our mind, to stop the uncontrolled flow of the mind. I think I'll stop here. Any questions?
Morning, Bhante. I have a question. Normally I do my meditation sometimes at 5 a.m. But normally it's 7 something to 8. But I encountered one thing when I was doing the meditation. But I encountered when after I concentration, there's a bright light rushing at me, and suddenly
And suddenly you're awake, that means you fell asleep. Huh?
It's a very strong light rushing to me.
When we start to meditate, there are certain experiences we get. In Chinese, we say Geng Gai, Jing Jie, Geng Gai in Hokkien. Some of these experiences are strange, and they sometimes occur only once and never occur again. Bhante Suwano, the late Bhante Suwano, he told me when he started meditation, this happened to him. He saw a lotus flower opening, and then when the lotus flower opened, he saw a baby inside. And then as the lotus flower opened, he looked at the baby. When he looked at the face, he found his own face. This is all imagination. Yeah, the mind plays tricks on us. My experience was in the initial stage. When I meditate, I found the upper half of my body, from the waist up, turning the opposite direction. Then I thought it seemed very real. My legs are facing the front, my upper half of the body facing behind. Then I slowly opened my eyes. It's imagination. Recently, there's a man in our monastery. He has come to stay because he has intention to become a monk. So he told me, he meditate, and he's floating up a few inches above the ground. I said, did you open your eyes to see? He said, no. I said, if you really floated, people around you would have seen. So you see, the mind plays tricks. Don't worry about these things because they come and they don't come again. But as our mind starts to concentrate, we are able to focus our mind. Light arises. Light arises and then it goes away because your mind is not strong. Only in the fourth jhana, the Buddha said, the light persists. Your whole body gets lighted up. The whole body is shining very brightly from the tip of your toe up to the top of your head. You are emitting light. That time, even the devas and the ghosts will know. That time they will pay respect to you. But when you get the fourth jhana, Mara, Satan, cannot sit still. He's afraid you become enlightened, become greater than him. He will come and disturb you, just as he disturbed our Jesus Christ. He disturbed the Buddha and the Arahant disciples. So if you have not attained to the fourth jhana, don't worry. Mara won't come for you. Speak louder. Speak louder.
I like to ask about Anapanasati. I think see that Anapanasati Anapanasati is just a body regulation, mindfulness of the body. But these are some mind,
If you look at my book, it's explained. When a person attains the first jhana or any jhana, the mind is so clear, so mindful. Even though he is paying attention to his breath, the feelings that arise or feelings that cease, he's aware. The mind states that arise and cease, he's aware. So he knows impermanence, so he sees Dhamma also. So it's only when your mind is so clear in the jhana states, that when you're observing one thing, you're also aware of the other things. You're not paying attention, but you're aware. You're not taking special effort to pay attention because the mind is so clear, so mindful. That's why some people don't understand the state of jhana. There's one monk, he says, what is the use of jhana? When you're in jhana, you have no mindfulness. That's just the opposite of what the Buddha said. Yeah, the thing. You haven't read my book, Contemplation and Meditation. Have you read?
Any more questions to ask, Nandi?
Yeah, Nanda.
At least also one
Video
is
is the people.
before we go to our
Sure,
time offering.
Okay, there's some meditators, they told me that don't enter to jhana. They say the jhana will make you stagnant. So they say just be aware to enter the jhana. So what is true is?
These people who are teaching false Dhamma, these are people who are trying to destroy the Buddha's true teaching because they never study the Buddha's words. They are saying things that are really opposite to what the Buddha is saying. Don't listen to all this. Listen to the Buddha. The Buddha said, when the Buddha was about to enter Parinibbana, Ananda asked him, Bhagawa, after you have gone, whom should we follow as our teacher? And the Buddha said, after I am gone, take the Dhamma Vinaya that I have taught to be your teacher and your guide. So our real teacher is our Buddha Gautama, Pansa Sejia Monifo. And also in Anguttara Nikaya 4.180, the Buddha said, if any monk says that the Buddha taught like this and the Buddha taught like that, don't accept, don't reject. Compare it with the suttas and the Vinaya. Only if it follows the sutta and Vinaya, you can accept it as the words of the Buddha. In fact, the Buddha said, if you don't listen to his words in the suttas and attain stream entry, you're not a Buddhist. You're an external sect follower, Bahiro, the Buddha called. So a lot of people, they think they're Buddhists. They're not Buddhists at all. Some of them are trying to destroy the Dhamma, teaching false teachings. In the Sangyutta Nikaya, Sutta 16.13, the Buddha said, the true Dhamma will not disappear as long as the false Dhamma, the fake Dhamma, has not arisen. But when the fake Dhamma has arisen, then the true Dhamma will slowly disappear. And the Buddha said, when the fake Dhamma arises, it will be very difficult for people to distinguish between the real and the true, the real and the fake Dhamma. Just like the Buddha gave a simile. The Buddha said, when fake gold arises, people will find it very difficult to distinguish between real gold and fake gold. So that is what is happening now. People are not quoting what the Buddha said, they are quoting what their teacher said. Who is their teacher? Probably not even a Sotapanna. If they don't study the suttas, they cannot be a Sotapanna, cannot be an Arya at all. Because the condition to become an Arya is to get right view. And right view only comes from two conditions. The voice of another teaching you the true Dhamma. And the second condition is focused attention. So it's very clear, if somebody is not familiar with the early suttas of the Buddha, cannot be an Arya. Even if they attain psychic powers and have great samadhi, nowadays you find Some people with good samadhi, and they think they are arahant.
Pande has been emphasizing the effectiveness of the sutta study to gain right view. Pande is how use the sutta as effective spells parita. I want to know how effective is the sutta functioning like a spell. This is my first question. Second
Wait, one by one.
That means arahat can be attained without any channels.
Okay, this chanting, during the Buddha's time, there was very little chanting. Nowadays, people pay attention to chanting. It was not so during the Buddha's time. And nowadays, like monks give blessings by giving chanting. During the Buddha's days, the monks give blessing by giving a Dhamma talk. And you give a Dhamma talk and people understand, they get blessings. But if you just chant and people don't understand, where does the blessing come from? The Buddha said nobody can bless you. Your good actions will bless you. Your evil actions will curse you. Nobody can bless you, nobody can curse you. You yourself bless yourself or curse yourself by your good actions or your bad actions. Yeah. So a lot of the chants that you find in chanting book nowadays were created later. Most of it was created later, did not exist during the Buddha's time. Your second question about dry arahant comes from the commentaries. Commentaries are later books written by monks. In fact, just now I mentioned about the Samyutta Nikaya 16.13, where the Buddha talked about false Dhamma. The Buddha said that this false Dhamma comes from the monks themselves. The Buddha said, it is foolish, these foolish people here. Here he was talking to the monks, so referring to the Sangha. He says the foolish monks later who create all this fake Dhamma. So in the what is the later books? Later books is like the commentaries, the Abhidhamma, the Mahayana Sutras, and other books like Visuddhimagga was created 900 years after the Buddha's passing away. So of course many of these books they have something good not all of it is bad but they put some Dhamma, some things that are contrary to the Dhamma they put inside. So unless you are familiar with the suttas, you don't know. For example, this dry arahant comes from the commentaries. In the suttas, in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.86, the Buddha said, basically, to attain Sotapanna, the first fruit, you don't need any jhana. To attain the second fruit, Sakadagamin, you need 1 or 2 or 3 jhanas. To attain Anagamin, the third fruit, you need 4 jhanas. To attain Arahanthood, also you need 4 jhanas. Okay. Now the commentaries, they cakap banyak lah. They say there are 5 types of Arahant. One has 4 jhanas, one has 3 jhanas, one has 2 jhana, one has 1 jhana, one has no jhana. So they use this no jhana one to say is a dry vision Arahant. Not possible. There are so many suttas in the 5 Nikayas where the Buddha said liberation can only be attained by someone with deep peace of mind from samadhi. Because just now I mentioned the sutta, the 5 hindrances are makers of blindness. That means you can't see well, causing loss of vision. Causing loss of vision means you cannot get, vision means right view, Vision is view. So you cannot even get right view if you have these 5 hindrances blocking you. And then leading away from Nibbana. It does not lead you to Nibbana. It leads you away from Nibbana. So if you have unless you get rid of the 5 hindrances, there's no hope of becoming a Sotapanna, getting right view. No hope of getting liberation, Nibbana. So a lot of people, that's why I said earlier, they don't investigate. People say meditation is good, they straight away go into meditation, go into the wrong meditation. When I came into Buddhism, I wasted 9 years because I was a Mahayanist. 6 years I was following Mahayana as a layman. 3 years as a novice monk and monk. In the end, I got so disappointed with my teacher. Always talk about great compassion, great compassion. When I stayed with him for 3 years, I realized he had no compassion. Worse than an ordinary layman. Greed, hatred and delusion so strong. Can talk like that, but action like that. So I suspected something wrong with Mahayana. I went to investigate Theravada. Then I found contradictory teachings. I have been on a spiritual journey a long time, I was born into a family supposed to be Buddhist, but they practice more Taoism. And then I went to a Catholic school for 12 years where I had to study the Bible for my LCE. So I'm quite familiar with the Bible. Then, because when I was in Form 5, I told myself one day I must become a Catholic. I will baptize, even though my parents object. Then when I was in Form 6, I started to have a lot of questions. I asked the Christian brothers, they could not answer me satisfactorily. For example, if God is compassionate, God is merciful, why create hell? You create hell when you put somebody there, isn't it? Otherwise, no point of creating hell, yeah? And then they say, if you don't baptize, you cannot go to heaven. What if there's a Hindu man, very pious, very good, very generous, helping everybody, but he does not baptize? You mean he has to go to hell forever and ever? No logic, yeah? You ask them these questions, they cannot answer. So I had doubt. So I left Christianity. After I went to university, I had a friend, Chinese, but practicing Hinduism. So from him, I became interested in Hinduism. I studied and practiced Hinduism for 4 years. And later when I started working, young bachelor, enjoy myself, wild life. Because I was working in a military camp. You had the Air Force, you had the brigade, you have the recce unit. So every day join the army officers drinking beer. But enjoy too much, I start to dream of ghosts every night. Every night dream of ghosts, giving me warning. It was very good. Then I started to think, why? Then I realized when I was young, I was very spiritual, very interested in the spiritual. Now I enjoy too much, vacuum inside. Spiritual vacuum. So I went back to study the Bible. Then because I was good to my workers, one of my staff, Malay man, gave me a Quran. English translation of the Quran. I studied the Quran. And I studied the Sikhism, I studied Baha'i, every religion I studied. Then only came to Buddhism. When I came to Buddhism, I found, wow, very deep, cannot understand. Start reading, cannot understand. But I kept reading. I found interesting because it's different from other religions. Don't ask you to believe in God. It's a DIY religion. So from there, as I studied more, slowly the jigsaw puzzles start to come together. Slowly you see the overall picture. Then the idea came, I want to become a monk. So after I came into Buddhism, also went into the wrong sect for 9 years. Became disappointed and then came to Theravada. After coming to Theravada also I found wrong teachings. So because I been cheated, I start to write very straightforward, criticize. Initially I criticized Mahayana, later I criticized Vipassana, make a lot of enemies. But at the same time, make enemies also help a lot of people. So we must investigate. You hear dry vision, Arahant, you must find out where does this idea come from. Okay, any more?